Christmas.
Well, hey, cheers. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
So, Marissa, it is nice to have you back on the show again.
Happy to be here.
I know you've taken a little bit of time off. You've become the Nanook of the North, right?
Nanook of the North? No.
Oh, going over the border there.
Oh, to Canada?
Yeah. So, to our as I always and I always love to get the Canadians go because I say, "Oh, so you've been in one of our provinces." And the Canadians don't like that, but
yeah,
I just have fun with them. So, by the way, what you are drinking, and
it's very tasty.
So there's a couple that visits us from Detroit, an Albanian family, and they always bring me their own homemade raki. But this time they actually brought me their homemade wine, and so again, what did you think?
I really like it a lot.
It is very well done, right?
Yeah, I'm not a huge wine person, so I don't know much about wine, but it's very, very good.
Yeah, I mean, no, I'm not. Maybe on whiskey I'm a little bit better, but wine is wine.
Yeah.
So so hey, Merry Christmas to everybody. We've got 3 services coming up. We've got the well-attended Christmas Eve service
banging on the table. Merry Christmas, everyone.
The well-attended Christmas Eve service, the Christmas Day service that gets a few people, and then we're having liturgy on Sunday. Who's going to come? So 3 in a row. But Demos is going to be. Are you going to be at all 3? Right?
I'm going to be all 4 including this one. So it's a busy week.
It's
not as crazy as Holy Week.
Not as crazy as Holy Week, but we will be busy. So we're looking forward to that.
We've got 14 live streams in the week. And
of course,
that's usually like what happened last year. That was the time that Spectrum decided to rear its ugly head. They tried again this Christmas, but I think we beat them. You
have reigned supreme. So
I don't know if you can go up against Spectrum. It's like Spectre from James Bond. They'll find a way to come back.
Oh, and so one of our parishioners, the original Candy Kitchen. So every year I go and I get a sample box. I'm never allowed to pay. I always try to pay Maria, because these are like absolutely delicious candies that go great with wine. So one of our favorites, salted caramel, and then kind of the Mounds bar. And
those salted caramels are good.
Are excellent, right? So
thank you for sharing. I'll of course take another gladly.
That was actually one of our early Orthodoxy questions answered. We actually did it live.
In the candy store.
That's right. We were. Exactly. We were at the Candy Kitchen. So
I remember. I was incredibly sunburnt. Yeah, it was good.
You got a scorpion with a popsicle scorpion.
Yes, with a scorpion. Still have it. I have not eaten the scorpion yet. And one quick thing, as you all know, your contributions in December. All the YouTube super chats and the funds, which was about $400, was raised. And what it did is it helped the St. Andrew's Food Bank here, and then it also helped the I don't want to say Mission Church, but on Clinton Avenue they have St. Michael's there, and so they also have a food program there. So they sent us this very, very beautiful card thanking us for doing that. We went over with 4 full vehicles of food and gift cards and things that they needed. So again, thank you very, very much for all the support, and wanted you to know where those funds went. Okay.
While we're speaking of thank yous, I want to extend one myself real quick. Diane, who you'll see very often in the chat, I hope she sees this episode because I don't see her quite yet, sent me a koboskini from one of the monasteries in Greece as a Christmas gift, and I don't have it with me at the moment. Next time I come in next year, I'll show it on the show. But it was I wanted to say thank you very much. It was a wonderful gift.
That's so nice.
Yeah. She is like one of our best supporters. I mean, that is awesome. So
Diane is the best.
Speaking of support, we actually already have our first super chat.
Good Lord.
From Toby Jean. Thank you, Toby. She says, sorry I had to leave Bible study early on Tuesday.
Yeah, she's joined our Tuesday Bible study.
Wow, very
cool. Yeah.
She had an emergency call in, but here's a tithe from a heathen former Protestant. Her words, not ours.
That's too funny.
Well, not mine.
So hopefully, I saw her on there, and I also saw we have one other from the show that's tuned in. So hopefully they're enjoying that. I've got half and half now. So half of my Bible study group is parishioners, and then the other half are just from different areas.
How is that going? What's it like to have the mix of parishioners and yeah?
You really can't tell the difference, and this is something that Zoom works really well for, because especially in the wintertime,
people don't want to come in person.
Well, look at yesterday, like we had the adult Greek class, but with the snowfall, we had.
Yeah.
So this way, we're there every week. They have their glass of wine while they're listening to the Gospel of John, and off we go. So it's very nice. Anyway, so did she? Oh,
question.
Did she have a question, or she was just making?
No, that was just a statement.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, it's Toby. It's very nice to have you join us for Bible study. Remember, if you'd like to join that, just email us here, agocny @gmail.
Yeah, so we might come up with a better email for that in the future. But for the moment, I have it in the chat. agocny@gmail.com. If you have any detailed questions that require more time to answer, or you just want to reach out for any reason, agocny@gmail.com. And I guess we're ready to begin.
Well, so there's currently a technical difficulty with this computer. It gave me the blue screen of death, and now it has restarted, and I'm about to boot it. But I remember, because I am a good host, Trench's first question. If I can paraphrase, it was something along the lines of, like, Merry Christmas, or... But it's like Christmas, and like how he's remarking something about how it used to be a holy day, and now it's not so much a holy day anymore, or something like that.
I can ask
can you,
question, yeah, in detail, just to make sure. In Greek, Merry Christmas, just a thought. In Greek, it literally means Christ's birth, since most don't go to Mass with two S feels. You know what quote unquote S feels? Like a more secular holiday than a holy day, since most forget about Christ.
Mm-hmm. I can't.
Oh, Mass with like two S's.
Mass with
Instead of Christ Mass, like Christmas.
See, this is why we keep you around, Marissa. Where have you been?
But I can't disagree with Trench. I mean, we have commercialized Christmas to the point over the years, and I'm talking about starting from the 1910s, when we had the whole Coca-Cola, Santa Claus, and everything like that.
Yeah.
And we kind of, we many of the shows that we see, even the new Scrooge movie that they did with Bill Murray. Again, I know that there's a good message at the end, but a lot of it does focus on materialism, and that the joy of Christmas, is about gifts. And the best one that shows that is the Grinch, right? Because the whole point of the Grinch is, if I take their material things away, then they will not want to celebrate Christmas. And now, obviously, at the end, it turns that around.
Well,
so
in the original version,
right? I'm talking about
the other remakes. Kind of lose that message. Yeah.
So we definitely have to agree with that. And in fact, this is one of the reasons. This is the primary reason why our bishop asks us, as parish priests, to have liturgy, to offer liturgy on Christmas Day, because he feels, and I would agree, obviously, that you should start the day recognizing that Christ was born, and that as Christians we celebrate his entry into the world, rather than just waking up and all of a sudden tearing into the gifts, right?
Yeah.
So that's where that Christmas, his desire to have a Christmas Day liturgy comes from.
And in fact, the commercialization of Christmas is going to be the topic of our Christmas special this year, on the Tartan Priest.
Oh yeah, so yeah, we got a Tartan Priest episode coming up on that. I would add, as far as Christmas goes, Christmas is actually a good time. Now, there is a Christmas fast, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And we are supposed to give things up. Okay. Obviously, food products, right? But it would be nice now if we could do as Saint Nicholas, right? And think about those that are needy and take a portion of what we would have had as gifts and then offer that to those who are in need. You know, to remind us as Christians that the money that we make is not ours. It has been given to us by God. You received an excellent talent for doing what you do, right? Okay. Now, right.
Thank you.
I mean,
Oh,
other than
right.
looking good, right? I mean, you have the talent for, right? Physics. Okay.
I wouldn't say so. I just do it. But
No, you do, and you're exceptional at it. Okay, and God has given you that talent, and you have not buried that talent, and you've used it.
yeah.
And so, recognizing now who gave you that talent at Christmas and Easter are what we're supposed to be doing as Christians. So,
Yeah, be
I'm glad that
thankful.
Trench brought that up.
Real quick, we do have another super chat from Tommy Williams. Should Christians avoid a life of luxury, like a flashy life, flashy cars, houses, etc., or to be more aesthetic? In other words,
Well, again, okay, we're, I'm going to get in trouble with some of the uber Orthodox on this. But
Are you?
Yes, I will. We are not monks. Okay, monks are called to that lifestyle.
Oh, I see.
Okay, all right. So we wouldn't say that. We would say that a flashy lifestyle, because flashy implies you're showing off, right? You are doing it not for yourself. You're doing it because you want others to see you. That is very pharisaical. Okay, so we would say that certainly that is sinful behavior. But to live a comfortable life is not a sinful thing for
Yeah.
Orthodoxy. But when you now, like the rich man and Lazarus, when you see those that are less fortunate than you and have needs, and you ignore those needs and remain in your luxury, now you are certainly in sin territory. So, Abraham prospered under him. Job prospered under God. Okay, they were very, very prosperous. They didn't sell everything that they had, but at the same time, they were counted righteous because of what they did, and that they listened to God and they helped those that were in need. And that's the same thing for us. So it's not a bad thing to be rich, but it's a bad thing to be rich, greedy, and not help your fellow man.
Yeah. So the next question, we'll say, is from Trench. Bible talks about how man, is the head of woman, or is the head of a woman, just like Christ is the head of man, and shouldn't be the other way. And she must not speak in church and have pants to dress like a man, to teach or have authority. Does the church still back this up, or does the Greek church try to please society, which is like trying to please society and God at the same time? So I guess, right, like sexism. I don't know. Like, what's the role of women here? Because that's a thing people do say, right? Like, oh, men are the head and women are the neck that turn the head.
Yes.
Blah, blah, blah. There is a lot of power that comes in the neck.
The great philosophy of a big fat Greek wedding.
Yeah. I will say, you don't know how much your neck makes up for things until you get some pain in there.
Until
you get a whiplash.
Yeah, so...
Uh-oh, we have another show and tell session. See, he's gonna pull out the book called The Patriarchy so he can set us straight.
That's right.
So is it in bad taste for me to wear jeans in church or pants in church? Nice jeans? I don't really.
Well, let's do the let's take this just a step at a time here. Okay. And
he's starting from Genesis, y'all.
Well, again, Genesis really is, it is full of our theology. It's really the fountain of our theology in terms of what is written here. And he says, chapter 2, verse 18, then the Lord God said, it is not good that man should be alone. because even God himself is not alone, right? He exists in, right, a what we call in Greek a perichoresis, meaning that he is in communion with himself, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. So even he is not alone. So if we're going to be created in his image and likeness, then we should not either be alone, because then you're just narcissistic, right? If you're just loving yourself, all right? And then it says here, and it gets mistranslated, I will make for him, and what it says here is a helper as his partner. This is not what the Hebrew translation is. The Hebrew translation is, I will make for him a person that stands in opposition to him. Okay?
Nice.
And not in opposition in a bad way,
but like in a mirroring
in
way.
a mirroring way, right? And again, and then when so the Lord God calls a deep sleep, and he took one of the ribs, and the question is, why the rib? So the Orthodox understanding of that is not from the head, that woman is above man, not from the foot, that she is below man,
but that she is equal.
That she is equal. So there's something to be said about that. Okay, so
Actually, sorry to interject, but a friend of mine for my birthday, she gave me a book, the Hermites Fotini.
okay,
And I forget what father wrote it, but it's very good, and it's about this one woman who is Greek and Syrian, and she pretty much lived a very ascetic life, but she like postured as a man. So she was raised like as a man. And she went about life kind of as a man. And then
to accomplish things she wanted to accomplish.
Yeah,
obviously.
but she wanted to go to Mount Athos and everything, but of course she couldn't, and she respected that. But she went to go, to Jordan, and she lived an ascetic life in a cave there. I'm not finished with the book, but it's very good, and it quoted that part that man should not be alone in the book, and so it's interesting to see how things are connecting in my life like this, but.
So when St. Paul was writing, he was writing to a specific community, okay? And in a Greek community, that some of the women in that community were now presenting themselves in a way to show off. Okay.
It's kind of like the flashy thing you were
the flashy, right? Okay, kind of like the way I grew up, and probably you've seen it at Easter, right? A lot of times, women are dressing up for the show of Easter, but not necessarily dressing up for Easter, right? Yeah. Okay, and so when St. Paul was talking about, that they should not teach, okay, what he was also saying too is that if you are, and he was telling Timothy this, if you are going to be a teacher, then understand and know the tradition. So he was not, in that case, he was speaking to women, but he was also speaking that if you are not educated, then you should not speak. And the Holy Fathers, St. John Chrysostom, St. Basil, and St. Gregory all said, if you don't understand what you're teaching, don't teach. It's a very dangerous thing. So we have to look at that in a larger context of the cultural aspects of the time. All right. So today, like yourself, women are as educated as men. So they are able to teach. All right. So there's no longer that prohibition, because the original cultural stigma does not exist anymore. Okay. As far as
are we pleasing society, or are we pleasing God? I think is what Trench's underlying question is. But we are kind of a part of a society. You can't really just subtract that from it, right?
We said what the Holy Fathers have said, like I said, like Chrysostom and Basil and Gregory, is that do not teach or enter into theological dialogue unless you are educated. Okay, so we're not changing the rules, but now women are educated, so that allows them now to teach. Okay, so we're not changing any rules, but you have met the qualifications that are necessary. Look, even today there are priests who have not graduated seminary, and the bishops do not allow them to preach in church. They're allowed to perform the liturgy, celebrate the liturgy, but they cannot preach. So this extends to men as well as to women. So
just one last part with regards to wearing pants in church.
Yeah.
And I mean, even jeans, I think denim is kind of considered, not appropriate.
Okay,
Yeah.
I mean, now that Now there has been no canons about that have specifically talked about genes. I mean, the monks on Athos did not write about genes. What they actually wrote about is they wrote about that, and what we see from Scripture is that you should be respectful in the house of God. Okay, now the question is, what is respectful? All right. In the early 20s and 30s, respectable was a man always had a hat, he had a tie, and he wore a suit. Okay, and that continued on. All right, in the 60s and the 70s, that changed, and all of a sudden what you would see in church that was acceptable was business casual. Okay, so we have migrated to business casual. We extended, many churches, Orthodox churches, extended that to women being able to wear pants in church. Most times, it's the women who do not want to wear the pants. They feel that is inappropriate. And the Orthodox Church has no problem with that. If you don't feel it's appropriate to wear pants, don't wear pants.
Yeah.
But if this is how you dress, and it is business casual, meaning that it is appropriate, it's nice, it's not torn jeans or anything like that, that you are respectable in the house of God, then the church has no problem with that.
So we have a super chat from Tommy Williams. Thank you, Tommy. And
do we know Tommy? Do we know that Tommy?
No, we don't know this Tommy.
No, we don't know that.
We know this Tommy because they have given us many super chats, but it's not my Tommy.
Oh, okay, gotcha. All right. Okay.
You have a Tommy?
Yes, I have a Tommy. But yeah, so Tommy Williams says, if it's not good for a man to be alone, why do monks? Theologically speaking.
Good question. And monks are not alone.
They have each other.
They must live in a community. Mm-hmm. Okay, now, an abbot may send them away to live in a skiti, right? A little...
I was reading about this too, that there were like different types of like, not different types of communities, but different approaches to like this kind of lifestyle. Like rhythmic, I think, is one where you share. There's one where you share everything.
Well, that is the general, the monastic.
Right. There's one where you share everything, and then there became like a change that was like due to taxing purposes or something during like Ottoman rule. They had to switch to this other one where like priests were allowed to have their own possessions, or they had to, and then pay their own taxes. Anyway, but yeah, I was reading a bit about this, and I was like, oh.
But from a monastic standpoint, you must live in a community. You cannot just be a monk; then you're not recognized. All right. Now, and even if you live in the skiti, you must return, unless you are physically unable. You must return to the monastery to receive communion, because it's koinonia. It is to be together.
Yeah, communion. Yeah. Right. So continuing on, well, actually, let's talk about what Sponge Tom's Triangle Pants says here. They say, we call it Rum Orthodox Kilisise, I think I'm saying that right, in Turkey, which actually means Roman Orthodox Church, because Byzantine time, the Greeks called themselves Rum, or Rome.
Yes.
Also known as Roman. When did the church start calling itself Greek Orthodox?
Okay, so actually he's correct. The term Byzantine was a Western nomenclature that was given to us
by the Roman Empire.
By the Middle Ages. There was no Roman Empire. By the Middle Ages, we were referred to as the Byzantines. Yeah. But during the time of Constantinople, they were known. They wanted to be known as the Rome. Because New Rome, because they saw themselves as inheriting now that legacy. That legacy, exactly right. So he's exactly right. So that came later on, that tag of the Byzantine of the Byzantine nomenclature. Now, when did we now have this idea of Greek Orthodoxy, right?
Yeah.
Versus so where this comes from now is that we. And even before the schism of the Catholic Church, there was the reference to the lingua franca of the time, okay? And in Constantinople and in the Middle East, and small Asia, right? That Middle Asia part,
West Asia.
The trading language
was Greek.
In the West, the language was Latin. So it became Roman Catholic and Greek Orthodox. okay, just to signify what the lingua franca was of the time. Okay, here in America now, unfortunately, that has devolved because now people hear Greek Orthodox and they don't understand or bother with, the lingua franca and all that. All they hear is Greek, and so they will say, well, I'm not Greek, so I don't think that I can belong. And part of that is where the Orthodox Church of America, the OCA, came in and said, we are the Church of America. We are not the Greeks or the Romanians or the Russians. We are the Orthodox Church of America. But that is exactly who we are. We are inherited from Constantinople, that Greek language legacy, but we are Orthodox here in America.
Mm-hmm. I actually, before converting to Greek Orthodoxy, I had no idea about that. I actually, like, Orthodoxy in general was kind of like foreign to me in general. Like, I knew there were Greek churches and Russian churches. It was even, it wasn't until I really started looking into it more deeply and consulting you that I realized it's all kind of how it all is related, and how it's different here in America with OCA churches.
So we technically, if you want to be technical, we are the Greek Orthodox Church.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're a Greek
as opposed to a Romanian Greek Orthodox Church. Right.
Yeah. So Trench wanted to kind of follow. I'm assuming this is a bit more of a follow through on his previous point, but he says also women should not be allowed to wear jewelry, but Muslim nations seem to follow that more and are spreading more, and that rule will apply again when they take over, and many feel that is when the church will be silent.
Or why it's silent.
Silent.
Well,
I guess I should take this off.
Well, let's go backwards. Let's take the.
I have a lot more.
Yeah. Well, let's take the Muslim one first. Okay, we have already been down this road for 400 years. Okay, this is nothing new. All right, we have already lived under now a Muslim expansion. Right, we've already done this. All right, so I think that the church survived then, and the church will survive again.
Good point.
All right. So this is not this. There's nothing new under the sun, right? I mean, so in that sense, there's nothing to fear. Now, when I say that, that doesn't mean that there will not be persecutions. I mean, we've already seen the Syrian persecutions, right, in recent times, just about 4 or 5 years ago, right, where the Orthodox Christians in Syria were beheaded. Okay, so there will now be, there might be a return to persecutions, but the church has lived through that. They know what that is, all right, and they know how to deal with that. So, yes, it can be difficult, but it is not unmanageable. Mm. And then the other part, said jewelry. Okay, look, I would agree.
But Muslim women do wear jewelry.
They do, but not pretentiously. Okay, yeah. So if you walked into church, right, and you had like gold just hanging off of you, earrings were this big, you're wearing a tiara on the top of your head.
It all goes back to the flashiness discussion.
Exactly, right.
And it also depends. There are more fundamental sides to the Muslim religion as well. Not everybody is. It's not just one.
Yeah, there's many like flavors and sects and beliefs about things.
Yes, there is. But under the occupation, under the occupation of Constantinople, those were not necessarily zealots. I mean, that
today,
was today, right?
Like
wearing jewelry, right. Now, I mean, some people would call wearing the cross on a nice chain. They would say, well, isn't that jewelry? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, the earrings that you're wearing. I mean, nobody's going to complain. These are cultural. These are societal and cultural norms for us. When we take it to exaggeration point, then it becomes inappropriate. I mean, what would people say at work? I mean, I've been to your office. Okay, yeah. If all of a sudden you came in wearing a tiara and you had all this gold and you were bangling around everywhere you went, somebody would say something.
They'd be like, "Is it Halloween? Yeah, what time of year is it?"
So.
But Napoleon Bonaparte asks, "Is God good because of his will or because his nature is good? If it is because of his will, then he can't do certain things, such as create a triangle with more than 180 degrees. This also means that he doesn't have free will. If God is good because his nature is good, then he can do anything, even outside the laws of logic. The Epicurean paradox asks, why didn't God create a universe where we have free will but not evil? I know that free will introduces evil, but if God can work outside the grounds of logic, then he can create a universe with free will but without evil. To summarize, the idea that God is good because his will is good seems foolish, but if God is good because he is good, why didn't he create a universe with free will but without evil? Sorry for a long question.
Can there be free will without evil?
Well, okay, so the
Can there be good without evil?
Yeah.
That's kind of
well,
like,
we have to start further back than that. Okay,
here we go.
This is a classic scholastic question by a Western mind.
I like the question.
Okay,
It's
okay,
a good one.
but I don't.
You're like, ugh, Western mind.
No, well,
not here for that. Just
well, because the idea is we have to be careful how much we analyze God. So we don't want to put God, or we cannot put God under a microscope. So the Orthodox has to start from the position that there are some things that don't have a point to discussing. Okay, because how do you know that God operates outside of logic or operates within logic? How do you know that? What standard of measurement are you going to use for that?
Yeah.
So the discussion for Orthodox doesn't make any sense. Okay, what we can do is we can speak apophatically about God. We prefer to speak cataphatically.
Want to explain what those two words mean?
So a cataphatic approach to God is the negation, meaning that these are the things that we cannot say about God. And the Orthodox tend to approach from that. Apophatic means that these are the things we can say about God. Okay, we feel that those are much more limited than what we cannot say about God. But a Western mind, a scholastic mind, is more apophatic. Okay, and leads to things like transubstantiation and Theotokos as the co-mediatrix and she doesn't have sin and all of these kind of things. All right, so I have to start from that premise because questions have to be answered in an Orthodox, what we would call a phronima. All right, now the idea of so I can't answer the question of logic because I don't have a measuring stick for that. But we can say that God, well, okay. I was going to say we can say that God is good, but we can't even say that. Okay, so I'm trying to remember whether it was Saint Basil who said that, because now
you're putting a human
right
concept on
what is good.
Yeah.
Okay, do you know what good is? Who are you? I mean, I'm not saying you.
Yeah,
okay,
I know.
But who are we to say that this is the measurement of goodness in God?
Yeah.
So it is inappropriate to even say that God is good, but we have to say something. Okay, so we say yes, that God's nature, because we have St. Paul telling us, and we have Jesus Christ telling us now that God is spirit, God is love. We have that. Okay, so those are starting points for us. If we know that, we can say something about God, all right, because Jesus himself has already said it. But to go further than that now, okay, so now taking the question of will, all right, okay, it's already been stated that we have free will, so we can understand that, all right, and from that free will, the Orthodox will say, incorrect, or using the Jewish definition, we can be inclined to evil or we can be inclined to good, and that through the fall the inclination for evil has overtaken us, and that what Jesus Christ did was help to restore that inclination for, part of what he did was to help restore that inclination for good.
So we have another super chat from Tommy Williams. Tommy Williams really coming in strong. He asks, what exactly did Paul mean about being a quote unquote slave?
Doesn't that remove free will?
Yeah.
Okay, so we are mistranslating doulos and sklavos. So the word that he uses is doulos,
Which means like worker.
servant.
Right? Servant?
Servant. Sklavo means a literal slave. I am owned. I do not have rights. Okay?
Yeah.
So if we use our free will appropriately, because Jesus Christ's words were what? I am here to do the will of my Father. In John 4, because we're doing Gospel of John, that's the only reason I can quote now. In John 4, it says, Jesus himself says, my food is to do the will of my Father. That is what our goal is. Our goal is to align our will to God, to be his servant. Because we're not his slave, because Jesus Christ says, I don't call you, how does he say that? I call you friend. I no longer call you servant. I call you friend. Okay, because now he is bringing us to the point where we will be in communion with him.
Yeah. First I want to thank Napoleon Bonaparte.
Yeah.
It sounds so weird to say out loud like that, but thank you, Napoleon, for your good question. But this kind of discussion reminds me a bit of something else I have read, that like where humans are placed in the kind of hierarchy that we frame for ourselves within Christianity. Like you have God, the Son, Spirit, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like by virtue of like God representing himself as a human through his Son, right? Like some say, or I've read that some say that puts humans above angels.
Now, I believe that there is a quote. The other quote is that he, referring to the Son of God, was made a little lower than angels, meaning that he condescended to become man, okay, and took on our humanity. So now there is somewhere,
No
and I'm trying to recall the quote where I do think I have to look that up, where it does say. And man created a little bit higher than the angels. I somehow remember that.
Yeah.
But the more important one is Jesus was made for a time lower than the angels, meaning talking about his condescension to humanity, to take on humanity.
All right, let me get back up in the chat. Sorry, everyone. Thank you for your patience. Do you want to ask
because
one?
Trench actually has a follow-up to the free will question, saying, how free is free will when so many decisions are made due to past experiences? 1%, and if so, that is overwhelmingly not logical in a math sense of probability, when environment shapes everything. Environment chooses everything that you do.
Well, I'm not a psychologist, but would you agree that environment shapes you 100%?
Okay, so he turns as I say, okay, so I have a complicated opinion or take on this. I feel like I am not entirely sure. I feel like we live in a deterministic space, right? And it can be quite chaotic. I think we also have the perception that we might have free will. To what extent we have free will, I'm not sure. Right? Because like I don't know.
No. But
it's important.
I'm talking about are you because before I answer the free will, I want to get to the point of, am I as a human being 100% formed by my environment? If that is a true statement, then it knocks the gay and the transgender question right out the window, right?
Well,
because then it was not my nature, but the environment forced it upon me, and that is not the argument that is being used. The argument is that there is a genetic disposition for who I am. Okay?
Yeah. The nature versus nurture thing is what you're thinking about.
Right. So because if you are 100% influenced by your environment, and your environment tells you that you're growing up, tells you it is wrong to be gay, right? Then this is a no-brainer, right?
Yeah.
Because because it's not part of my, it's 100%, it's not part of my DNA, it's not part of my genetics, so all I have to do is just, reorient my brain, do a reset. But that they're saying that is not true.
Yeah.
So I cannot agree with the fact, with what he said, that we are 100% formed by our environment. We cannot
I would agree.
be.
I'd agree. Yeah, I'd agree with what you're saying, because it's like, to me, like, things require balance. I don't feel good with absolute statements like that.
Yeah, and
like, environment is important. It does shape a lot.
It certainly does. It plays a factor.
But at the same time, right, like, you have your own autonomy, and that should also be respected. And yeah.
But you have your nature. And
but
Orthodoxy would say that the statement in Genesis that we created man in our image and likeness means that we have God, this is Orthodox theology, we have God imprinted on our person. He is part of our nature. Okay, so you can deny God as much as you want, but he is imprinted onto you.
Yeah.
So this is why death and afterlife and all that is such a big question. Okay, because the idea is searching about who I am and why do I have to die and all of these questions.
So going through the chat, thank you to everyone who welcomed me back. I'm happy to be here before Christmas.
Man, these are deep.
Yeah, everyone's asking great questions.
Ooh-wee.
But Anon asks, are unbaptized inquirers allowed to utilize holy water? I'd say yeah, right?
I mean,
I did before I converted.
Okay, and the answer to that is very easy, because it comes right out of Scripture. Nobody knows what the bounds of the Holy Spirit is. The Spirit will blow where it will. So if you apply, if you are not a magician and you're not a witch or anything like that, or a warlock, okay, when you sprinkle the holy water, it is the Holy Spirit that will determine what will be done. And if that is to illumine or to heal that person, that is then the will of God. It has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
You're just an instrument at that point.
Mm.
So yeah, we don't have an issue with that.
So Tommy Williams asks, do you follow the Gregorian calendar?
Oh man, I gotta remember. The Gregorian calendar is the new calendar, and
Yeah.
the Julian calendar is the old calendar.
One.
No, we follow here, according to the Greek Archdiocese, the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese of America, we follow the new calendar, what would be the Gregorian calendar.
SpongeBob Triangle Pants asks, is it worse to sin on holy days like Sunday and Christmas?
No. That we do not, again, we do not make any kind of distinctions or demarcation lines for sin. Sin is sin for the Orthodox. Finally, an easy one.
So Wayfaring Stranger wonders why we can't see Demos's face.
Because I don't want my co-host to just feel bad in comparison.
No, he is much more. He is much more handsome than me, and I don't want those kind of. I don't want the ratings to go down. So it'll become the Demo show.
It's not exciting. I'm on a computer, doing tech stuff and so forth. I mean, maybe in the future we can install a second camera. I'm much more prone to install a second microphone before we get to the second camera. To be honest.
But you know what? Maybe you should.
Thank you.
You should describe him for our audience.
So what I would actually prefer is the audience members draw what they think Demos looks like.
Ooh.
Do a contest and see who's closest.
Closest to what the Demos actually looks like.
Well, just don't cheat. I do appear in a few videos. Look at some of the old.
Now you're telling him.
Yeah.
Well, I'm telling them not to cheat because some longtime followers know what I look like.
When did you appear in the video?
I've appeared in 2 of the Christmas specials.
Oh, that's right. Way back. Yes.
And some of the very, very early Orthodoxy questions answered. Oddly enough, the one we referenced earlier at the Candy Factory, I make an appearance. I give you the popsicle.
I think it's just your hand
or the lollipop.
Yeah. I think you're just right. You just handed it to me.
No, I'm in full camera.
Oh, you are in full camera?
Well,
okay.
Trench is here to say that he knows what you look like, and he asked you a question on your channel, but you didn't answer on the movie.
On my channel?
Yeah, your personal channel.
Well, see, he's enacting his free will not
Yeah.
to
Not to
divulge his,
respond.
not to respond.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Demos face reveal. Everyone's like, this
Oh,
is
boy.
what they want. If we get to like how many subscribers Demos, there will be a Demos face reveal.
yeah. If we get to 10,000, which is what we're aiming for in the next few months, I'll do a face reveal.
Okay, wow, that'll
Yeah.
be kind of cool.
So we got 2 super chats while we were having this Demos lovely face discussion. So one's from Jonathan A. Thank you so much. And he didn't provide a question, but actually he did. It's underneath. Greetings from Sydney, Australia.
Wow.
We very much enjoy watching these Q&A sessions. Our family is also from Chios. Why does the priest read from the gospel in a melody?
So
Like it's
in
intoned.
the atonement, because I would have to investigate what is the historical reason for that, but the idea in an Orthodox liturgy is, number one, there is never silence, so there is always something happening, and since we consider the chanter, the chanting, and the priest and the deacon as a conversation, okay, then we keep it in that same tone, okay, so that it flows easier, and it's also then a little bit easier to understand also.
And also, if you take the premise that there should be no silence, the intoning of like the speech actually kind of makes it so that it seems like there's less space between words.
Right, as opposed to what we're doing right now, whereas there is stoppage and
Yeah.
Real quick, I do want to answer Trench's question about being on my channel. Now, I know some of you might actually look me up and see that I've done some other things. I do have another YouTube channel. It's a small channel that I have really just for friends and anybody that's interested in film. I was doing that a long time before I started doing the church. So if any of you do run across it, you might hear language or topics that are not exactly in tone with what we do here, which is my focus.
But he has, since he has been doing this, I've been kind of on his case, and he has cleaned up the act. Oh yeah,
Good for you.
You know, just some of the language and
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
On top of that, I found that a lot of people were interested in, because I talk about a variety of films, from The Godfather to nostalgic classics I grew up with. I realized I tended to have a younger audience, and I wanted to make sure that it was accessible to the younger generation that wants to talk about film. In the early days, I was much more interested in just making jokes and being funny. And I still think that we definitely pressed the line there, but it's not exactly the kind of channel that there's not really much of a cross-pollination from what we do here to that.
Well, if anyone is mean to you from our channel onto your channel, let me know and I'll come beat them up.
Ooh, see,
There you go.
all right.
See, that's the kind of edge.
Okay, so Toby GN also gave us another super chat.
Oh, thank you, Toby.
So she asks, which comes first, baptism or conversion to Orthodoxy? Can someone be baptized prior to becoming a fully Orthodox? How does that work? So yeah.
Okay, so there is always a conversion process first, right?
well.
I mean,
Well, I was baptized Catholic, and then there's chrismation.
well, yeah, okay. So let's say in your case, you did. Let's call it this: you did not enter into the Orthodox Church without understanding who we were.
Yes,
there was a
yeah.
catechism that
There
was
was a
required.
catechism.
Okay, and that's the same thing. Now, the exception, obviously, to that is the infant, right? Because an infant is not receiving any catechism.
Yeah.
But this is why we focus so hard on the godparent, is to ensure that there is a Orthodox presence, so that child grows up and becomes a catechumen, right? And then understands what the Orthodox faith is. I mean, I know he's already baptized, but somebody has to be there to help raise him in the Orthodox faith.
Yeah. So,
But yes, so unless you are an infant, there always is the conversion process of catechism and then resulting in the baptism.
Okay, let's see. I'm trying to get back up to the questions. Demos, if you got any shoot him before.
Well, I was going to ask this towards the end, but while you're looking it up, I wanted to ask, and we talked a little bit about this last year, but what are some of your favorite Christmas films and films that you would recommend?
Gremlins.
Well, okay, so Terry's just gonna throw rocks at the YouTube screen now, the TV, but I'm sorry, the whole Rankin and Bass series, I'm just enamored by Rankin and Bass. Santa Claus is Coming to Town, Frosty the Snowman, the little White Christmas one that they did, A Year Without the Santa Claus, I'm Mr. Heat Miser, I'm Mr. Hot. Terry right now is just turning over, but those are I have to have those for Christmas. It is not Christmas until I have seen Rankin and Bass plus The Grinch.
Plus The Grinch. I don't know what it is. For me, it's people are gonna laugh, but because I think it was the first VHS I ever owned. But Mickey's Christmas Carol. For some reason, I still have to see that every year.
Now, Terry and I's tradition for Christmas is Bing Crosby, and Rosemary Clooney, Danny Kaye, and one more, White Christmas. Mm-hmm. So we have to see that. We have to see Christmas Carol, but with
George C. Scott.
George C. Scott.
Yeah.
Have to see it with George C. Scott, and then Christmas Story. So those three have to happen.
I was kind of raised with "It's a Beautiful Life." That
Wonderful.
or "It's a Wonderful Life."
So
Yeah,
she saves that for New Year's because she really feels that's a New Year's. Because they sing "Old Lang Syne" at the end, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
They have a Christmas tree, but they sing.
And you had the opportunity the year before to meet Zuzu from "It's a Wonderful Life."
Yeah, we'll bring the picture in, right? So we got to watch "It's a Wonderful Life" with Zuzu with the pedals and all that. Remember that?
Wow.
Yeah. So
very cool.
And she was also in another great classic holiday film, A Bishop's Wife with Cary Grant.
Oh, she was.
I think
okay.
I've also seen. Wow, I actually have seen this.
Oh, that's the other one that we watch, not Bishop's Wife. Miracle on 34th Street.
Oh yeah,
that was
the 47 version. Natalie Wood.
Right.
So Sponge Tom's Triangle Pants asked what day and time it is here. Because it seems that it's already Christmas Eve where they are.
I thought they were asking about what time his Tuesday night Zoom class is.
Sorry, just catching up.
Yeah.
Oh.
But there is Napoleon did bring up something, because earlier we were talking about logic, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And if God can contradict logic, 180 degrees in a triangle, etc., etc. But Napoleon points out, in fact, all of Christ's miracles seem contrary to logic. That's what makes them miracles.
Well, okay, I guess I'd have to understand why. I mean, why? I'm not saying yes or no, but why, if can't God, who created all things, operate within what he has created? Okay, all right, meaning that he can use the laws of physics. He can use the law of entropy. He can use the law of relationship of mass to energy. Okay, all of those things are creations of God. Okay, the Word is the one that does all the creating. All right, now and just get me back on
Jesus' miracles as
okay.
Contrary to logic.
All right, in every case, okay, when Jesus does, in the vast majority of cases, Jesus uses the material that he created, meaning he uses clay, he uses water, he uses spittle, he uses water because he changed that into wine. All right, so he uses things that exist in nature, and as the Word who created all things. Right? We believe that he is the creator. That's why the icon shows him as the creator. We believe now that he can operate within the physical laws. Now, they are miraculous because we don't understand how the transformation of the water became the wine, but that's just because of a lack of our scientific knowledge. Okay? And then the idea of using the clay, he specifically used clay to wipe onto the blind man's eyes, Okay, and so he used what he created to perform the miracles. So Christ didn't go around like Harry Potter and wave a magic wand and go "Himnos splasho" or whatever the heck they say, right? So he used the elements that he created in the manifestation of his miracles, and all the miracle is that we cannot explain what that scientific process was for that transformation.
There's a lot of discussion happening in the chat, and it's hard for me to parse an actual question. Sorry.
So what's
the?
I'm just curious. What's the theme of the?
Well, there's like discussion about how like Orthodox isn't really Orthodox because some sects are more strict, and
okay, yes.
we seem to just be trying to like be more Protestant like, and many people are leaving, neo kind of, or what they deem as like neo-Orthodoxy or whatever.
And a great example of that is recurring questions about the organ.
Oh, that's my article for the January Good News is the history of the organ.
Oh, the instrument.
That we use in church, and again, not to give my article away, but in the book,
more show and tell. I'm impressed by how quickly he grabs the books.
Yeah, he knows where they are.
So again, Mars Hill to Manhattan, the story of Archbishop Athenagoras single-handedly creating the archdiocese here in America. In here, he talks about growing up in, not Cyprus. Where was it that he told me that he, and what he talked about is that on the island, maybe it was Smyrna, that there was an organ in the church there, and he liked it. And when he came to America and he saw that many of the churches were using the Protestant idea of bringing the organ into the church and use the choir, he encouraged it. This is in the 1920s. He encouraged the use of the organ. So it was the Patriarch Athenagoras, as our first archbishop, who said, I like organs. Let's bring them in the church. So anybody that has this idea that this is some kind of 1990s, innovation, has not done their history. It's Athenagoras who said, yes, I like that. Now, there were a lot of people that said, should only be chanters and this and that. Yes, and that's only because most of them just wanted to show off. They wanted to, chanters, they're egotists a lot of times, all right? Not all of them, but a lot of them, and especially with their male egos, all right, they didn't want to lose that. They were very pharisaical. They didn't want to lose that position. So they were fighting against that. But we have had a very long history in America since the 1920s of using organs in church. Now, I'm not saying every single one did. And in fact, the church in New Orleans actually had that organ in the 1920s, and they have continuously used an organ since then. So they are the one Orthodox church here in America that has continuously used the organ since the 20s.
To go back to our discussion about free will and stuff, TLM says, I grew up around people who were prejudiced, yet I always felt it was wrong and did not adhere to that. So my environment did not cause me to be prejudiced.
Uh-huh.
Right.
Yeah, there we go.
As an example.
Yes.
Yeah.
But Trench has a follow-up too. What are the odds of a person being a Christian without knowing any Christian on an island alone? It needs influence.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you mean, and again, so aren't we speculating now? I mean, is there a situation like that where a child is growing up on an island all by himself? I mean, Orthodoxy does.
I think it means more so like somebody that grows up far removed from any access to Christianity, and there are a lot of places around the world to say.
But isn't that what evangelism is all about?
Yeah, but what if they don't have the opportunity? I'm trying to make his argument here because it's more so like it is the nature of researcher, and at the end of the day, you will be influenced by both. If somebody grows up in an area, right, where their family is in uber poverty, right, and the only way they can survive is to steal. I mean, they're breaking a commandment, but their environment has forced them to do so. Or they grew up in a time where they were forced to go to war. They grew up, 17-year-old, 18-year-old kids grew up with a far different understanding of what the world is compared to millennials today that have had it very good. There are going to be factors in the environment that do influence you. Now, the nature of what, not necessarily the edicts of Christianity or the verses or anything that's specifically written in the Bible, but you could still have a Christian moral heart without ever realizing necessarily, if you're separated from Christianity, that it is that.
Well, why don't we extend that, and we say, like I said, that we believe that God is imprinted onto your nature. All right. So that person who is not a Christian, you said it yourself, out of poverty, his environment forced him into a situation that he understood was not proper. We don't have the situation where they say stealing is the right thing to do, because I'm not really hungry, but I'm just going to steal because it's the right thing to do. We steal because our environment puts us into that situation. All right. So that isn't it. So even though the environment can influence us, we still know inside, regardless of whether we're Christian or Muslim or Jewish or Buddhist, we still have that divine spark in us that says this action is not correct.
And that's kind of what I'm saying, the nature of inside, whether you realize it's Christian or not.
Yes. Yeah. Right.
To lighten the mood, Marcia Magic asks, do you have a special dinner on Christmas Eve?
Yes, we do. Demos and his girlfriend, and predominantly his girlfriend, is going to cook the Christmas meal.
That's really nice.
I know.
How
sweet.
sweet.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, that sounds fun. How lovely.
And we are bringing. I had to know what I was going to bring.
I don't even know what he's bringing. If it's a suitcase full of cash, I'll be very.
I've already tried it.
Is this Mosaico? Mosaico?
No. This is now some of the best baklava that you will ever taste.
Wait, what?
Oh.
Yeah.
Baklava that looks like that?
It's Dee's mom.
Oh boy.
So this is what I haven't eaten it all yet. I just had to chop off a little piece and try a little bit, but this is absolutely fabulous. So I'm bringing this as our offering for the Christmas dinner.
Wow, spoilers.
Yeah, well, thank you. We'll come back with a culinary review at our first show next year.
I like how I'm trying to guess what it is.
No, wait a minute. What about the colon?
I said colon. We'll come back with a culinary review.
Oh, I thought you said a colon review. I was like, no, I'm not going to have
I hope it's not lodged in my colon. I'll tell you that much. I mean, then you'll get a bad
culinary review. Okay, now
that must be a lot of syrup then.
Okay.
Some discussion about science and Tesla is happening in the chat.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. Wayfaring Stranger says Demos has a very nice voice. I would agree.
Thank you.
It's very studio appropriate. I don't know, radio voice.
I've been told I had an NPR voice once.
No,
I hope I sound a little more energetic.
You could if you maybe smoked more and talked more slowly.
I don't have the intention of doing either.
And maybe more monotone.
Yeah. They're a lot of times they're very monotone in NPR. No,
the possibility is there. You're just not there yet.
Yeah, I feel that NPR is purposely putting people to sleep while they're driving. It's population control.
Jeez.
Thank you for the compliment. Thank you.
Yeah. SpongeBob Triangle Pants says where they're at, it is Christmas Eve and it's 4 a.m. and they have to sleep. Have a good day. Merry Christmas. Christ is born.
Christ, right. Glorify him.
Purple Legend XC that's a question in. What do you say about the Satan and the devil being different individuals? The Satan could be said to be Samael. Samael.
The only thing I think about that is that originally, early on in the Old Testament, he was referred to as the advocate. Okay, because he was the one that would always present the opposite side. and then later, then he had that fall from grace, if we can say that. All right, and so took on that role of Satan. But I don't think we would make a difference between Satan and the devil. I mean, if we heard we have Satana and we have Diabolos, and those are used interchangeably within the gospel. Now, the reference to, what did you say, Samael?
Yes.
That I
have to look that up.
Yeah, I have
too.
to look that up. I'm not.
But I guess there is a little bit of confusion because Satan has had many different titles throughout history. Beelzebub, etc., etc. Lucifer, as you said. So I guess there is that. It's. I guess we should be very grateful because this is Satan with an identity crisis.
Never thought about it that way. Wow.
So, 'tis the season. Santa Man 1 asks, in regards to our question before from Toby, what about children coming from another faith, say an elementary age child that was baptized Protestant? What would it look like to convert that child and to have them go through a catechism?
Well, okay. So again, it depends upon. Now, number one, it depends upon the specific Protestant faith. If it's what we call high Protestantism, which is recognized, and liturgical Protestantism, like Episcopalian, Anglican, Presbyterian, that have a liturgical form, then we recognize those baptisms because they are done in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. There are certain non-denominational churches that will baptize only in the name of Jesus. Okay, we do not recognize that as a valid baptism. They would have to be baptized. It's not even a rebaptism because we don't even recognize the first one. So we're going to start right from there. So assuming that the child is a teenager, okay, then
elementary school, so younger, maybe like.
Okay, and I've had several of those where they're like 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, I perform the baptism, but I focus in on the godparent. Once they become a teen, so that they can at least begin the process of rational thinking, of systematic thinking.
You might gotta wait till their 20s, though.
Oh, well,
I'm just kidding.
And if they're a guy, until their 30s. But if they are in their teens, I can start with a reduced catechism that at least gets them to start thinking about, why do they want to convert? Especially if they're a teen, I just want them to have a solid reason about why they want to convert. So, for example, there was an instant I had where one of the families wanted a younger child, to be the godparent. And typically we have it on the website, is my minimum age is 18. Okay. But they wanted their child, who was like 14 or 15, to be the godparent. So I said, I'll tell you what I'll do. I says that child can be the godparent, but the parents will sign the paperwork as the official godparents, but we'll have her, do everything. All right. So I sat them down, the teens, I sat them down, and I asked them one question. And the question was, why are you Orthodox? That's all I want to know. Just tell me why you're Orthodox. And they struggled to come up with an answer. The first answer was, I like the Greek language. Well, then you don't need to be Orthodox to like the Greek language. The next one was, I like Greek dancing. Well, that has nothing to do with it, Orthodoxy either. And they said, that's what I grew up with. I said, that's not a good reason either. So at least that's what I would do with a teen, is I would want them to understand why they're Orthodox. Just answer that question, and then we can move on from there.
Mm-hmm.
This just in, there's been a small emergency.
Oh.
A rock has just broken your TV.
A rock has broken my TV. Yes. I knew it. As soon as I said, Year Without a Christmas and Heat Miser, she was going to throw a rock at the TV. And I'm going to hear about it when I get home, too. So.
Oh, no. We have a question from Aiden. Why is lust so hard to defeat? I've been battling it for years, and it feels impossible to get rid of my tendencies.
That is, in fact, it's such a prolific one that
Here's another book.
It's a great thing that we moved up here. I guess.
yeah, right. You know,
The show and tell aspect is much easier.
right. It's a lot easier for me to get to. We got just.
And I shouldn't have said earlier. He knows exactly where those books are.
I know, but in this one, it got moved around, and I don't know if this one I brought home or not, because I was we did a Bible study on this book, and I wanted it out, and now I don't have it here. It is Saint John Divine, the ladder of Saint John the Divine.
The ladder of the Saint John of Divine.
The ladder of Saint John the Divine, where he talks about
the ladder
of Saint John the Divine, and he talks about now the vices first, and then he talks about the virtues, and it is this ascent up to the ladder, and one of those that is lower on the rung of vices, because it is so powerful, is lust. And this is something that we have been battling since the time of St. John Divine, which brings us to the 3rd century. So this is nothing new, that we battle with that, but we have, partly it's pleasurable, right? God did create it as pleasure, and what the Orthodox Church says is, now there is nothing wrong with that intimacy, but that intimacy has to be done within the confines of now a marital relationship. All right, because even St. Paul says, for those of you that cannot, for all intents and purposes, control yourself, I would rather you control yourself within the confines of marriage. So even St. Paul recognized how lethal and how powerful this passion is. All right. So I wanted to bring that out because I'm saying, don't think that you are suffering in this alone. This is something that has been well written about and documented within both the Orthodox Church and certainly in the Catholic Church. I think the Catholic Church, though, over the ages has given sex a bad rap. Okay. we don't say sex is bad. It is pleasurable, all right, but it has to be done in the confines of love, right? And lust, where lust becomes sinful, is because you have degraded the image and likeness of God in that person. And that's for us, for Orthodox, is the root of that evil, is because you have now degraded or perverted that image and likeness. But you cannot do that in an intimate relationship of love.
Trench has a question regarding the what we talked about earlier about God being good. As Christ says, you will know them by their deeds. Isn't that referring to good? And to bear good fruits, to have good results.
Oh, yeah. We can define good for ourselves. What I'm saying, or what the Orthodox Church is saying, is how can you define what makes God good? Certainly we can define it for ourselves. Good means that you don't kill me, okay? That you don't stab me, all right? That you feed me, if you are my wife, that you feed me, and that if I'm your husband, that I will provide you shelter. Those, we can define that in terms of goodness. But when you are talking about the living God who exists outside of time and history, how can then we say this is what good means for God? That's what I'm saying. So Jesus Christ is talking about goodness defined for a human being. You will know them by their works. They do works that are good, defined in terms of human dimension.
So, I wonder if this is a thing. Napoleon Bonaparte. It's so ironic that there is such a stigma built up in saying I love you, but copulation is an open and common thing. It is kind of true, right? Like, people attach, or at least young people, they attach like a lot of, it's almost like worse to like say you love someone right, there's a fear there, I guess, because it's vulnerable.
Well, it is, and the act is a lot easier, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Okay,
Yeah.
because it can be devoid of emotion, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas love, you can't have love without that passionate emotion,
Yeah.
that intimacy.
It's also because in the English language we don't have a spectrum on in verbiage when it comes to the word love. You know, you can say I love my wife, and then say I love cake.
Yeah,
It's not the-
Yeah.
that's
it's not
right.
the same.
That's right. That's right.
You know, it's too broad of a word, and I think it leads to issues like this.
Yeah, and I think that does then make one of the powerful arguments for Greek, because you have the phili love, you
Yeah.
have the agape love, and then you have
Erotic.
the erotic or the
Yeah,
eros love, right?
eros,
So
yeah.
in that sense, you could not interchange those terms for cake or
Yeah.
for a person, right?
I do love cake.
Yeah, right.
Trench had a question.
But Jack says another thing here
Okay.
too. So true, Father. My priest says the same thing. Sexuality is a gift from God. Humans have perverted it and defiled what is otherwise good.
Well, tainted by sin. That's who we are. I mean,
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Trench had another follow up on the environment. It seems tonight
Go ahead.
this seems to be one of our themes.
No, good theme.
And a lot of it's hidden in the comments, so that's where we're looking. The environment has been environment has also affected people's sex, which other research has stated, such as chemicals altering genetics, etc. So there are environmental factors. I mean, let's just say that there are chemicals that do affect testosterone levels, for instance.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And estrogen levels, and obviously, if you live, near any area of land that has been contaminated either through engineering or radiation, etc. So those are
Chernobyl.
those are factors that will affect your life. But once again, I think it comes back to what we said earlier about the nature of God being within you.
Yes, absolutely. Right.
Jack also says, "Good evening, Father. Why doesn't our church celebrate other liturgies with any frequency? For example, the Divine Liturgy of St. James and of St. Mark are rarely used. Happy Nativity." With a green and red heart. Very cute. Thank you.
Again, great point. And I've got to be honest. Priests as human beings, right? They do get not tired is not doesn't feel they get dismayed. Even dismayed is not. What is the next level up?
Disillusion.
Thank you.
So many dis.
So
much dis.
So much dis. So I'm dissing the priest now. No, that's going to be another outtake. I'm going to get in trouble for. All right, but many priests do get disillusioned because they started out in their priesthood doing these liturgies. St. Mark, because they went to school. St. Mark was the apostle, and St. Matthew was an apostle. The beheading of St. John the Baptist. All of these liturgies, they start doing these liturgies, and you have, one person come. No people come. And then you offer up the gift of eternal life. You stand there with the cup, and then they look at you like,
not today.
Not today. And after 10, 15 years of this, it's just like, why? And so what they have transitioned to is, certain parishes want to celebrate certain things. Okay. So let's say at Flint. At Flint, Saint Bandalimon was a big thing, because that was one of the saints of their island. Okay, St. George was very big. St. Barbara and St. Catherine were very big. They wanted those liturgies. So priests will do that because people will show up and they'll receive communion. And it's like, this is a liturgy with people here. All right? The same thing here. Here, they want Demetrius, they want George, and then they want John. Okay, that's what they want. But I did a couple of the other liturgies, nobody showed up. So what I have said personally, if you want me to do a liturgy, tell me, and then I will do that liturgy. But to just do liturgies, I mean, we could argue this point about should you not, okay, but part of my calling is not just to do liturgies. Part of my calling is to visit the parish that I have been entrusted to take care of. Okay, and if I spend all my days in church doing liturgies and I'm not out there with the people, then I am not accomplishing the fullness of my ministry. So, and again, I'm not trying to say right or wrong here, but just trying to give it a little bit of insight into why some of these have fallen off. So, you know what? Go and tell your priest, you know what? I really want to have the liturgy of St. Mark. Or I really want, like Terry's Eleftherios. She's Eleftheria. So she wants that liturgy. She likes that coming to liturgy. And we had about 10 or 15 people that came. Some of them just wanted to, because it was President Dead, they wanted to come, but it was nice. We had 20 people in church. She went up and she chanted. It was very, very beautiful. That's what we want to encourage.
Yay.
So in the last 5 minutes, I just wanted to make a couple of different announcements and end with a Christmas message.
I didn't think we were going to last this long because I thought everybody's like burnt out for Christmas. Nobody's going to stay. We're going to do like 15 minutes and then we're going to sign off. So I'm actually kind of surprised.
Hey, we made it to the end. Well, first off, this is our last Orthodoxy questions answered of the year.
Oh shoot! I thought he was going to say forever. We have now shut.
We're gonna keep going, and we have a couple of great plans to evolve.
Yes.
The show as we go on, but we will be returning. We're gonna take a short hiatus. We will be returning officially on January 13th.
Okay.
We're gonna take some time off to get ready for the next big drive, which is towards Easter.
Well, we've been. I mean, the church has been working Demos pretty hard, and we got to give, the man a little bit of.
He deserves a vacation.
He does deserve a little bit of a little vacation, but
a little.
But he'll still live stream the Sundays. He'll still be here for the Sundays.
I'll still be here to live stream on the upcoming Sundays, of course. All the events of the 31st. But there's also, like we mentioned earlier in the broadcast, but if you're tuning in just now, we do have every year we tend to do a Christmas special. And every year it's a little bit different, We've had Father appear at FDR's
Fireside Chat, right?
Fireside Chat. We've had a Father make an appearance at the Vatican. You got a great turnout.
Yeah. Yes, I know.
Last year we actually had a half-hour Christmas special with opera and or the explanation of the birth of Jesus and all the different figures arrived there.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
This year it's a little different. For once, you're actually legitimately going to a location.
Okay. Yes.
We will be doing. It is a real location of a fake story.
Yes.
So it's kind of a reverse on everything we've done so far.
Yes. Because it was always a fake location, but yeah.
Well, no, I mean, it was a real location, but you were there in a fake way.
Yes.
Technically, it's a fake location that you're there in a real way.
In a real way, yeah. Okay.
It doesn't make sense. Watch tomorrow's show.
You'll see it. It's done. I have not previewed it yet. I don't even know what it looks like. I mean, I was there obviously, and I know kind of what you're going to do, but I haven't seen the finished product.
Everyone, I'm so confused as well.
We're doing a special episode of the Tartan Priest. Well, Father will be doing his Christmas special from a special location.
I'm looking forward to seeing.
I'll give you a little bit of a clue. It's in Cleveland, just outside of Cleveland, Ohio.
Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the most Christmassy of.
Yes.
Isn't that museum there like the Hall of Fame?
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Which is also a very holy site, but no, we're not.
Not going there. I know that every time I drove through Cleveland to get to Chicago, on the highway when you're going through the city, there's this building that has this mural with a big whale on it. And so if you see that, let me know. Think of me. Think of me and that whale. Yeah.
Why, did you paint it?
No, but I like it.
Oh, okay. Right.
I don't know.
I've been to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It was cool. And I definitely love a lot of the bands in there, but it's I don't know. I guess I just don't get much after after seeing Elvis's suit behind glass. So I'm like, okay, that's neat, but it doesn't do much for me. I guess.
Oh, okay. All right.
I don't know. But then again, I'm also gonna be the first guy that shows up at a film museum. Like, that's the DeLorean from Back to the Future. I
Yep,
can touch it.
I can see, right.
It's just I guess it's a me thing.
Well,
Hey, you've been to the Hall of Fame
Twice, yeah.
Yeah. What was your thought?
I mean, Terry really enjoyed it because she's grown up in a family of musicians, because all of her brothers were musicians, and so a lot of it was her childhood and a lot of what she grew up with, and then seeing the actual instrument that Peter Frampton used when he did golly. Why am I, the one with the where he put we had the one with the, it was kind of like a straw they put in his mouth.
I'm not I'm not a connoisseur
of Frampton, but and Terry's shouting out the name right now of that song that it's a double album, and he invented Peter Frampton invented this special thing just for this song. Cool. And it was in the and so I remember seeing him at the concert, and then to see it in the museum, the actual thing, I'm like, oh, so it was like the DeLorean moment for me, because you've heard it, and they talked about how it was.
It's an instrument that is kind of like a big straw, like a didgeridoo.
No. It just makes because he was like I do, and it just made this interesting sound. It didn't sound like that.
Yeah.
Sorry, you're just funny.
But why can't I?
It's okay. You'll figure it out.
Man, I can't believe that because it's gonna bug me.
Well, maybe that'll be the homework assignment for next year. I honestly have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay. So do you feel like I do? That's the song. That was the song. Do you feel like we do?
Funny enough,
like
11:37
we do.
Jam literally just jumped in and said, "Do you feel like I do?" Is the song, but I don't know about the instrument.
And it was, and then the other one was, "Baby, I Love Your Way." That was a big Peter Frampton song too. So anyway, that's the one. That's the one that was.
Hey, everybody's sending me the song name, but
that's funny.
The instrument. Apparently, that was a very good impression, because everybody immediately
went, "Oh yeah, that's what it is." So.
So I guess we should end with a Christmas message or prayer.
And remember Boston.
Yes.
The group Boston?
Yes.
Okay, so the one of the lead guitarists was the senior mechanical engineer who developed the old Polaroid Instamatic camera, the one that comes out. Remember that?
Yeah, I didn't realize.
Yeah, and he was not the inventor, but he was on that project team. He's a graduate of MIT.
Very cool.
It's another reason to like Boston. That's a great band.
Yeah.
I guess overshadowed a bit by Journey. They were kind of in the same mold. The instrument is called, and I kid you not, a straw.
Is it called a straw?
It's called a straw.
Because I remember him being on stage and he would kind of have this thing on his mouth. And so, okay, so it's called a straw. All right.
Literally, it's called a straw.
All right.
So maybe they couldn't think of it. It looks like a straw. Just name it that. Nobody's ever going to remember it.
Right. And to see and to see the guitar that jeez, who was the he died. Young black guitarist.
Jimi Hendrix?
No, not Jimi Hendrix. More recent than that. Really young.
Rock stars that die young is very
yeah, I know,
category.
Right? Prince.
Okay.
Oh.
Prince's guitar is there.
Was he really that young?
What?
Was he really that?
Well, he was more than in his 40s, right, when he died?
Maybe 40s, 50s.
Maybe, but yeah, Prince's guitar is in there. So anyway, I'm going on, but you asked me, so I did kind of get something out of the museum.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, for me, it's a great place to visit once, but we didn't even do a video there because it was just one of those, it just. We tried it with all the Trident Priest videos, and as you watch more of them as we release them, every location we go to is tied to a message or something
Yes,
that we're
right.
inspired by.
Right.
And Rock and Roll Hall of Fame just seemed very tacky, you know.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
To do that. But we're getting a lot of Christmas messages. Do you have a final Christmas message to end the year on?
No, just Galakastuyana.
Yeah.
All right. Merry Christmas. And everybody, please remember, as you mentioned at the beginning of this show, is that the reason for Christmas is that Christ now, God condescends a little bit lower than angels to become man so that we now may approach God. So we're not able to approach God because of our sinfulness, but he condescends and he comes to us. And that event, God entering into history, is Christmas. But Christmas for us is important because it points the way to resurrection and eternal life.
Is condescends the right word? Or descends? Because condescends means to talk down to.
No. But
unless there's a different.
Well, I mean that he takes. So let me put it the other way. It's not just descend, but he becomes human. So he becomes a creature.
It is to become lower, I guess.
Yeah. Well, condescend in that sense, to descend to our level, to be together, right, to be with us, but not in the sense that you're talking about.
I just want to make sure that was
right.
clear.
Good point. All right. So, but that's my Christmas message. Again, everybody have a Merry Christmas. Have a very Happy New Year. And we will see you back.
We'll be back here on the 13th, January 13th. And our show is every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. That is New York time. But we will be releasing our Christmas special tomorrow. And
check that out. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. Go check that out.
And our virtual Sunday schools will also return about the same time. We're taking a week off from that, but I believe the first one is scheduled to be back on the 7th. I'll double check on the date. That's Sunday, and it is Abraham, the sacrifice of Isaac. And we'll be continuing our look at the Old Testament next year.
Mm-hmm. That's our theme, is continuing through the Old Testament. Great.
Right. So much fun.
All right, Marissa. Again, it was always nice to have you back at the desk again,
and so much fun to be here.
And also just because you're also engaging. I mean, you don't just kind of just read the questions off, but you also, like Terry, you also kind of engage and get and bring another the laity perspective of Orthodoxy to the show, and I love that.
Nah, I just want to participate. It's fun.
Cool.
You bring the sass. We need that.
I don't think I'm that sassy. I just like.
All right. Yeah. So we're all set?
Yeah. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Good night. Merry Christmas.
Good night.